Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to winter in North Carolina. I hear it's going to be 50 by 1 o'clock. It has to be confusing for the buds on the trees and the birds. It just has to be confusing. Anyway, we are here. We are here together. We are wrapped up in love's arms. It is warm in here. What more could you want or need? We're having potluck afterwards. All is well. So I know that there are a couple of people who are here for the very first time. Let's give them a round of applause. We welcome you. My name is Reverend Dusty Ripplemeyer. I'm the the spiritual director of this wonderful community. We are a community that follows the teachings of Ernest Holmes, a philosophy and way of life. We believe that there is just one God, and that God is within us and surrounding us and is benevolent, that it is a power and presence that we can use to create lives that we love to live. And we come here, gather here together to celebrate life, to celebrate God, and to celebrate each other. And so we're so very glad that you've joined us. And we're absolutely glad that everyone at home has invited us into their living rooms by the absolute wonderful brilliance of technology. So thank you very much for being with us.
The reading for today is by Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, the Spiritual Director of Centers for Spiritual Living. He says, "What we are dealing with this week, what we are really talking about, is the nature of human being. We're talking about who we really are as opposed to who we have been taught we are. This is the key to the value of education. Education can awaken within ourselves a new truth about who we are and who we think we are and how we can operate and move into the world. The simple fact of the matter is that society has typecast most human beings, and the ability to step out of that typecasting into a new expression and a new way of being and a new way of thinking about ourselves and loving and caring for our own selves is really the tool that can be utilized to transform the individual and therefore the world."
Few people have come in. Welcome to those of you who have just arrived in the sanctuary. The theme for the month of March is education and continuous growth. Now, last week I said that here at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, we walk a path of awakening growth and spiritual deepening through classes, workshops, seminars, and spiritual practices that assist us to embrace education as a lifelong endeavor. I also said that the purpose of spiritual education is to continuously expand our mental horizons and broaden our understanding of this life and how we can live it more powerfully. Dr. Reverend Ken Gordon echoed this in the reading for today. He said, education can awaken within ourselves a new truth about who we are and who we think we are and how we can operate and move that into the world. Now, through the month of March, we will be exploring these idea of education and continuous growth. The bottom line is that we do not have to be stuck. We do not have to be stuck in a rut. Spiritual growth and change are possible for each and every single one of us. Now, my talk title today is Caught in a Box. Clearly not so for this woman anymore. Now, whether we are aware of it or not, we all live in a box. It is a box that we have made up. We've been designing and reinforcing our box since we arrived on the planet. The box is made up of our beliefs, our thoughts, our judgments, and our feelings about ourselves and the world that we live in. Throughout our lives, we have been experiencing experiences, some that we liked and some maybe not so much. But out of those experiences, we created rules. We made up rules about how the world is, or maybe more like how it should be. These rules then become a part of our box. Now, while many of our boxes are amazing, many others are challenging. We could be living in a box that says, I am not enough. We could be living in a box that says, I have to be perfect. We could be living in a box that says, I will never find the right and perfect career for myself. The boxes could have foundations that are based out of shame or fear or regret or doubt or anger. We are also, through our connection with everyone else, receptive to race consciousness, the ideals, the beliefs, the thoughts, and the fears of everyone on the planet right now, or in the past, or even into the future. Now, technically, no one can put us into a box, but if we do not question those race consciousness ideas, then they unconsciously just become a part of our box. Now, based on the cultural norms at the time, we could be living in a particular lifestyle box, or a particular relationship box, or a particular career box, or a particular cultural box. And again, that, while some of these boxes are amazing, others are more challenging. We could be living in a box that says you have to go to college in order to make a good living. Or we could be living in a box that says work is not meant to be fun. Or we could be living in a box that says that the economy is so bad that I am lucky to even have a job. Or, man, think of it, we could be living in a box that says life is hard and then you die. I've heard that one before. Now, the bottom line is that no one can hold us hostage. No one has us locked into any of these boxes. Nobody has said that it has to be this way except ourselves. If we're not happy with our lives, if we're not happy with the boxes that we are living in and living from, then we have choice. We can choose to step outside of those boxes. We can choose to live in a different way. Now, ever since the 1960s, we've been told to think outside the box. We've been told to live outside of the box. It's one of the most cited strategies for living or for thinking that has ever been said. Whenever I think about living outside of the box, my first thoughts always come to the chambered nautilus. Now, as the nautilus matures, it creates new and larger, see these new and larger chambers. That as it grows, it moves its growing body out into that next chamber, into that next larger chamber, and then it seals off the prior chamber with a new septum, so that it becomes a chamber that it can never return to. It is an old, outdated, small, no longer serving the nautilus chamber. It has a new chamber. Now, for me, this is a beautiful example and a beautiful image of being able to step outside of our boxes that no longer serve us, and to be willing to create new boxes that reflect our growth and our evolution on our path as spiritual beings on the planet. Doing this is not always easy. It requires boldness. It requires fearlessness. It requires us to be courageous. Everyone has the choice, but not everyone will make it. Sometimes it's easier for us to just simply stay in the boxes that we're in. At least they're familiar, right? Now, a man named Luc de Brabander, it's French, so pardon my French, and from this moment on, I'm simply going to call him Luc. Anyway, Luc is a fellow and a senior advisor in the Paris office of the Boston Consulting Group. Now, he is an advisor and a consultant that leads strategic seminars for boards or senior executives or managers in a wide range of companies throughout the world. He has done many TED Talks, and he is the author or co-author of 12 books, one of which is called Thinking in New Boxes. Now, he has a little bit different idea. He says that while he believes that we could quite possibly be living in any number of boxes, that we actually have boxes within us. He says, every human idea can be expressed and or interpreted through numerous mental models or boxes. Your brain constantly uses boxes and cannot do otherwise to make it possible for you to cope with and process reality. We all have boxes of many different sizes. The smallest type of box would be a grouping of things. So, for example, a grouping of things would be, types of birds, or all of the restaurants that are in your neighborhood, or perhaps trees that are indigenous to the state of North Carolina. These are groupings, and this is the smallest mental model or smallest box that we would have, groupings. He goes on to say, examples of slightly bigger boxes include stereotypes or judgments. A paradigm is a box so big, for example, like democracy or freedom, that sometimes we don't even realize that it's still just a box. Now, all of these various boxes help make the world more manageable. According to Luc, it simply is the way that our minds work. We can't think without boxes. He kind of likened it to having a pantry or some kind of an organized closet with all of these different drawers and different compartments where you can put everything. It helps it to make life more manageable. So he says, but a box is not a tangible thing. A box is really just a model in our mind. And every mental model or every box that we create, no matter how brilliant it is or how well it has served us, will at some time eventually become outdated. It will need to be refreshed or replaced. Like the chambered nautilus, we have to create new boxes as we grow and evolve. Luc believes that you must do more than simply think outside of the box. Rather, you must learn to deliberately and consciously think in new boxes. Not just out of the box, at the edge of the box, not just out of it, but in consciously created new boxes. He also says that it's not enough for us to ask ourselves to live outside of the box. Because even if we manage to get out of a specific box, that won't even be enough because we still need new boxes. Our minds need them. So, in this month, where the theme is education and continued growth, then it would behoove us to become a little bit more educated about our boxes, right? To become a little bit more aware. So we have to do the work to inquire about our boxes, to question what they are and why they are even there in the first place. And then we have to be willing to grow. We have to be willing to create new ones. It's often tremendously difficult for people to even realize that they're chained to a box, especially when it's really subconscious or if it's really woven into our culture or into our expectations about life. Some of our pre-existing ideas and concepts may be so entrenched that we don't even realize the control that they have over us. Thus, becoming more aware of our boxes is very, very important to our growth. These boxes can be the deep-rooted assumptions that we have about life or human nature, as Dr. Ken Gordon said, the human nature or these assumptions that govern our worldview, like stereotypes, for instance. Or they can be our preferred way, our go-to way of being in the world in which we fall into time and time and time again without even really thinking about it. It's just like on automatic pilot. It's just what we do. Now we have to be willing to do the work, and we have to remember that it is a choice, that we have free will. We're not stuck. We have a choice. We can't move forward to create new experiences or to create new lives unless we are aware of what is holding us back. We can't be free until we at first understand that these boxes are a form of prison, a prison that we need to know the specifics of. Now, Luke says, even when people think they are willing to abandon preconceived notions, they bring with them a powerful, unspoken affection for the boxes that they're counting on to understand the world. This affection is mostly unconscious. Thinking and behaving based on your tried and true methods feels right, even when you're trying to be radical and new. This phenomenon is hardwired into the human brain. People have a natural bias towards ideas and concepts that confirm, as opposed to contradict, ideas that they already believe about the world. So you could see how that would be. You would want to hang on to those boxes. Now, all of our boxes, whether we are conscious of them or not, are going to become constrictive, just like the chambered nautilus. No single box is good for forever. It's impossible to shift anything that we are unaware of, so we need to become aware. This is that education piece. We need to become aware of our boxes. This is the very first step. Now, once we have kind of an idea of, or maybe even a list of some of the current boxes that we have, the next step is to challenge them. Ask yourself some questions like, what are some of the key beliefs and assumptions that I am relying on? How well are they serving me? How might some of these relatively automatic perceptions or misperceptions be deceiving me? Are some of them holding me back from thinking in more open-minded and creative ways? In what ways can they be challenged? In what ways should they be revived or enhanced or even replaced? The idea in this step is to create a climate of doubt around all of the boxes that you've become aware of, to create a climate of doubt. In order to start thinking in and from, or to create new boxes, the invitation is to really begin to doubt absolutely everything. From our most fundamental beliefs to our perceptions of reality to our assumptions about the future. The invitation is to doubt the rules that we are living by, those rules that we created. The invitation is to doubt that the current boxes that we have are the best boxes for us. They may have been at one time, but they may no longer be. Now, the invitation is to question why we do what we do, and is what we do serving us? This step, this opportunity to really question, from in this environment of doubt, to really begin to really take apart and look at our boxes allows us to adopt a whole new mindset, a mindset that is grounded in authenticity and personal humility, being able to let go of all of that, to think that there is something else that is better. Now, when we ask ourselves questions about these boxes, we're actually really asking ourselves questions about ourselves, about our nature. Who are we really? What are the beliefs and thoughts and feelings that I have held to be true throughout my entire life? What am I committed to? Am I more committed to these boxes than I am to living a life that I would love to live? We can't continue to keep putting our faith in the things that we do simply because it's the way that we've always done them. In order not to be caught in the box, in order to look like this woman, we have to put our faith in a new box. And in order to do that, we have to create a new box. So that's the next step, create new boxes. Luke says, since your brain needs models or boxes to think, the key to being creative in practical ways, to manage change during these times of uncertainty, is to first try to understand your existing boxes to a greater degree, and then to attack any situation or issue by developing a range of new boxes. You can then carefully choose which box or boxes to use, even as you embrace the ambiguity in doing so. As it is these new models, these new boxes, these new ways of thinking that will free you to see not only what is possible, but also what you must do not only to survive, but to thrive. So now that we've begun taking a look at our boxes, first step, becoming more aware. Second step, creating this climate of doubt, inquiry into those boxes, questioning them, questioning our most important beliefs and assumptions and approaches to life. Then we become willing to create new boxes. And when we get to that stage, the invitation is to carefully frame a set of questions that will investigate even further. To investigate even further who you are, where you're going, what you want, what specific outcomes are you hoping to achieve, what kind of new boxes do you want to create. Now, as we begin to do that, not all questions are created equal. So the questions that we ask are important. In a book called The Right Questions, how could I go wrong? Debbie Ford shares the questions that she believes will expose exactly what we are committed to. And I believe that the answers to these questions will inform us about our commitments and about the current boxes that we now have. And I believe that the answers will also point to the scope of the new boxes, to what needs to change and evolve for us to grow spiritually. Now remember that these boxes are a choice. These boxes are a choice. So her questions include, and I just would love for you to just let these questions land on you however they land on you, and see what comes up for you as I share them with you. Number one, will this choice propel me towards an inspiring future, or will it keep me stuck in the past? And when you hear choice, it could be box, right? It could be choice or box. You can just hear it however you want to. How will this choice bring me long-term fulfillment, or will it bring me short-term gratification? Am I standing in my power, or am I trying to please another? Am I looking for what's right, or am I looking for what is wrong? Will this choice add to my life force, or will it rob me of my energy? Will I use this situation as a catalyst to grow and evolve, or will I use it to beat myself up? Does this choice empower me, or does it disempower me? Is this an act of self-love, or is it an act of self-sabotage? Is this an act of faith, or is it an act of fear? And lastly, am I choosing from my divinity, or am I choosing from my humanity? Our answers to these questions will assist us to create boxes that inspire us, boxes that allow us to create from unbounded imagination and possibility that is limitless. Our answers will help us to create boxes that allow us to be all that we were created to be. Luke argues that the most incredible ideas don't come from just thinking beyond the perimeter of our current perception, but of relocating our minds to an entirely different box, where preconceived ideas don't limit imagination. You can see how that would happen. A box that is too small doesn't allow us to grow. The Nautilus is a perfect example of that. Now, once we have a good idea of the scope of the boxes that we wish to create, we do so through a process that includes both divergence and then convergence. So in divergence, we simply come up with as many possible ideas or as we could possibly imagine. So it doesn't matter if they seem foolish or that they seemed like it would be impossible for us to create them. Just get them down. Oftentimes it helps if we sit with like-minded people who can assist us to generate some of these lists. Mary Mann and Morrissey, if you took Prosperity Plus 2, how many took that? So a number of people. She walks the students through this particular process of just generating out of nothing anything that could possibly be put down on that list. And you just want to let your imagination go wild. Nothing is too silly. So you just get all that down. And when you have that list, or as complete as it can possibly be in any given moment, then the next step is convergence. And in convergence, this is where your ideas are transformed down from this big, long list, this big, huge pile of ideas, into a more select group. And then from there, it gets whittled down into an even smaller number, or perhaps even to just one. Now, the way that you want to whittle these down is by really sitting with each and every single one of them and feeling into, does this really resonate with me? Does this really inspire me? Does it twirl my skirt? Does it knock my socks off? Become aware. Question everything. Create new boxes through divergence and convergence. Seeming a little overwhelming right now in this moment? Yeah, I figured it would. So I have just a couple of practical ideas. Always be willing to think for yourself. Always be willing to think for yourself. Don't simply fall unconsciously in with the crowd. You are brilliant. You're a divine emanation of God. Think for yourself. The second, always be open to new ideas. Choose not to stay stuck in a rut. Yes, it might be scary. Yes, you might have to get out on the little twigs, stand out on those branches and be willing to just let go. It might not feel in the moment like it's better than being in the rut, but trust me, it's way better than being in the rut. And the possibilities are endless. And the last is, don't be afraid to be different. Be authentic. The you that you are is here for a reason. The you that you are is important. The you that you are is significant to the world. Don't be afraid to be different. The invitation today is for all of us to step into a new way of thinking about ourselves, to step into a new expression of ourselves, to step into a new way of being in the world. The invitation today is for all of us to grow, to transform ourselves, and thereby transform the world, making it a world that simply works for everyone. And so it is. Let us pray. So I just invite you to turn within. And as I do so, I am acutely aware of the power and presence of God that is within me. The one power, the one Spirit, the one life, the one love, that one creative energy back of everything that there is. It is eternal. It is benevolent. It is everywhere at all times. The very essence of unconditional love and the peace that passes all understanding. I was created by it, out of it. I am a hologram of it in its fullness, in its wholeness. I too am that unconditional love. I am that peace. Its wisdom is my wisdom. Its creativity is my creativity. And just as I know that this is true for me, I know that it is true for each and every person here this morning. Each of us is a unique and divine expression of God. And it is from that place of unity, that deep and abiding connection that we have with each other, with God, and with life itself, that I speak these words about and for each of us today. Truly knowing that our life is the life of God, that there is just one life, and that we are living that life in our own unique way. That we have been tasked with bringing that presence to the planet at this time. That unique voice. And what I know is that we have a choice in the matter, that we do not have to be stuck in anything that does not look like the presence of God. That we can choose and choose again. That the boxes, even having served us at one time, if they no longer serve us, we can question that. We can shift that. We can change that. We can create new boxes that allow for our growth, allow for our expansion, allow for us to be all that we came here to be. And I claim for each of us this morning that there is ease and grace around doing this, that we do not do it alone. We do it in the company of each other, in this community, and held in the arms of God. That we can lean into its presence in those moments when it feels scary, in those moments when we don't feel bold enough. We can change the world. We are changing the world. Moment by moment, day by day, person by person, by continually asking the right questions, and answering with answers from our divine nature, from the truth of who we are. Letting go of anything unlike that. We are powerful. We are creative. We have choice. Nothing can stop us. The possibilities are endless. I'm so grateful to know that. So grateful to speak these words, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That they are clothed in form, even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor them for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone.